Hi everyone, welcome to Revive Radio 94.9 FM. We are back with Friends of Queen's Market. Street. We want to dive into the past. We're talking bargains and beginnings today, but let's get started. Any updates? What's been going on?
Well, from what I've tried to keep up with the traders and the Friends of Queen's Market and all the feedback that's coming back and forth, there's been a change of management,
Right,
from the council. So we've had an assistant mayor that's coming that's going to take over a lot of the things.
okay.
She's identified there's a communication problem, that departmental issues. You know what the jargon they use. So that's taken 21 years to actually recognise it after so many assistants. So we've got a new
Manager. Is that a good thing?
a mayor, mayor.
Okay.
You know, not a new mayor, but an assistant mayor. So and she's taking it on board, and she's trying to. The name just gone out of my head, and that person's going to try to streamline some of the communication.
Okay.
Hopefully, she could do it before we all sort of grow old, right? But that hopefully will take effect. So there's going to be communication between the traders, and the management,
that's good.
and the assistant mayor.
I think transparency between everyone would be quite good. Obviously, judging on the past, it's not looking good, but hopefully we can be optimistic and a change.
Transparency is what people have been crying out for years in Newham. It seems like the holy grail. They just can't seem to reach it. So, and also we've got another person that's come from Birmingham, I think, and he's coming and joining the hierarchies.
Yeah.
In reference to housing and what have you in business. So I think that side there might be an improvement in communication on that side. Let's see what happens. It's all in the works. It seems that it's flowing very slow, but let's see what happens out of this mix. All we can do is keep pushing, keep highlighting it. But that's what I've got so far. They had a Diwali now.
Oh, that sounds nice.
It wasn't as good as it was last time, I must admit. The quality.
What were they doing?
Well, they had a stall, they had a pitch.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
And so the traders all chipped in and they bought chocolates and what have you. So that went well. They were interacting. But I didn't want Friends of Queen's Market there because, but hey, there's room for improvement there.
Right.
It's an ongoing progress, We'll see what happens in the future, but we had it. That's the important thing, and the traders were, actually carrying it out. What else? The lighting, that's moving forward, and that's one of the biggest topics that they're actually undertaking.
Yeah,
they accept that there is a problem, and there has been a problem. So, based on that, I think we can only just hope and keep working towards, a better sort of future, even if it's in the nearer future we're looking at to improve on. So that's the update I've got so far. Stans must probably got some more, but that's all I can remember. As you get older, the memory gets faded quicker as well.
Right, onto the market. Sharon, what's your first memory of the market? Do you shop there? What do you know of it? Just generally.
Well, as I said in the last program I came on, I was there as a tiny child. That's when I went to the market, and that's when it was an open market, not when it was on the street, because I don't go back that far. And I said, as a perspective from a 2 or 3 year old, it seemed huge because the flats weren't there. You got the flats, so it went right back. And I remember there was an old pub. I've been trying to visualise where the old pub was. I saw a photo of it online a few days ago, and it is as I remember it, but I can't remember the exact, whether it was further at the back or whether it was at the side where the pub is now, but further going towards the road that runs alongside the market.
What, the Queen's Road?
Yeah, no. That,
Right, so the area's changed a lot.
It's changed.
Right, it
It
has.
has.
It
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah, it wasn't covered. It was just. Little
But it
streets.
must have been so fun, like running around there as a kid when it was like more open as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, when you're a child, everything's bigger, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one of my memories is being a child there with my grandma. It
Yeah.
feels like everyone's first one. Shakila, what about you? Like, I'm sure
I'm
you
not
would
really
take.
a market person.
Right.
My mum used to go to the market
Nice.
every Saturday, and we would end up going with children. Stop looking at me.
Yeah.
And we'd end up going as children. But it's changed over time. It's a shame, actually, because I think children now, like the younger generation, they haven't got the exposure. So they actually, like East Ham Market closed down. So it's become like, a market hall now. So actually children in Newham, the only market that they actually have is Queen's Market, and a lot of children don't go there.
Right.
And so it's a shame that they're not exposed to market trade, but they're also not exposed to how people are making a livelihood, I guess.
Yeah, entrepreneurship. I think research just came out recently that children aren't like reading as much as they used to. They're not doing a lot of stuff.
No.
And it's good sometimes doing things differently. Like change isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you can kind of see that they're getting within their phones, less exploring their imaginations with books. And markets kind of provide that, don't they? Like we've all got our like memories as kids being there, whether our parents were dragging us there or it was a bit of an adventure.
Well, I think also like for me, I would say, as an educator in Newham, children need to see the fresh fruit and veg.
Yeah.
They need to see that, and then that converts into metric and all of that in mathematics, and children are not exposed to that anymore. And I think that's the downfall where the markets have gone. Children are not able to see that.
It's also more social or
Yes.
sociable, because when you go in a supermarket, you can walk around the supermarket and not talk to one person.
Yeah.
You do not go to a market and not talk to one person.
That's
You
so
engage.
true. That's so
You
true.
really engage. And also, we used to travel miles to go to a market because we not only went to Queen's Market, we went to Rathbone, Roman Road, Walthamstow, all the big markets. You went to Petticoat Lane.
We had them in abundance then, didn't
In
we?
abundance.
But you've hit something on the nail there. And when you're, as teachers, both of you are teachers, when you're teaching children something, they have to be able to imagine it in real life. And you just made me think about my own primary school experience where it's like, right, you had 3 pairs and 2 pairs. Like it is literal. And if they've never held one and been around it and can conceptualize of it, of course it's going to affect the way they can approach stuff like that as well. So do you see like a difference between maybe when you were growing up, like learning in school, and then now that you're a teacher?
Yeah, definitely, because I think it's more, how do I explain it? It's things are readily available now for children, aren't they? So, like Sharon was saying, if you go to Sainsbury's or Tesco, whatever, everything's packed now.
Yeah.
Whereas in a market, you'd say, can I have, I don't know, like half a pound or whatever. That children don't see that anymore.
Yeah, or hear it.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's the metrics plus the fruit plus colours plus there's so many ways you can apply it.
But it's not just fruit and vegetable. It's things like material, haberdashery, all of that as well. Children don't see that anymore. Things I think are more readily available now, I think.
I tell you, some of the kids weren't in the market when I did. I mean, chicken milk in the market didn't come in a bag. It came in feathers, right? Making noises in a cage. There was a lady who used to sell chickens. So there was, eggs, it was on trays. And it just came from 2 ladies, sisters, right? They used to sell that. To get that vision, I have appreciation of not wasting meat at all. I'd rather not buy it.
Was that Mrs. David?
They
used to, they were down that little alleyway.
in the alleyway.
In the alleyway near the market.
And
I went to school with their daughter. Yeah. And they used
to
I'm rubbing shoulders with history here. But exactly, that's what it is.
Knowing where your food comes from, understanding it, even if it's a bit gritty to look it in the eye.
Come on. whoever wants to see that's going to be on your plate now.
But it makes
Also
you more
within the
grateful.
market, it's a shame because when you do go there, there's so many traders that have given up now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Because of recession and finances and things like that.
Yeah, they do get driven
You know,
out.
their livelihood is being affected.
Yeah.
And that's a shame as well, I guess.
Yeah, no, it is sad because it takes away those people that give you that sociable aspect that you were talking about. That makes it so nice to live in
But
Newham.
also, it's a way that someone can start up a business
Yeah.
because it's cheaper to have a pitch in a market
Yeah.
than to rent a shop. So someone might have an idea that they want to do something, and I've got a little bit of money, but not much.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, they make that outlay, and you're paying, say 20, 30 pound, 40 pound a day for a pitch,
Yeah.
which is a lot cheaper than renting a shop out. And then, and you can make or break a business.
The
that
thing
way.
is, it's one of those. It's a space. It's a safe space.
Yeah,
It's an affordable space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you could exchange ideas. You could exchange point of views there. It's a quite neutral ground.
Mm.
And businesses have to thrive in that area.
Mm.
And I have no idea why the schools are not bringing children in there and having their own stall, and they can make things and try to sell them there,
Mm.
That is
or
a
try
good
to
idea.
show their wares. What that brings them in this from the unreality world of internet, this so-called this TikTok-y world, these other worlds, to the real world.
you was watching Bidding Room yesterday.
Yeah.
weren't you?
It's like gamifying business in a
It's
way.
like-
It's like
it's-
turning the game of business
But it's
into
also
a
in
game.
the curriculum. So
Yeah.
actually,
If
when
you-
children hit like a certain age, they need to be taught about social
Money,
enterprise.
Yeah.
money. They need to talk about money.
Yeah.
How do you take an idea that you may have? How do you sell it to somebody? How do you give it to somebody
Mhm.
at a price that covers everything? To me, that's the best way. I wasn't too good at numbers and everything. I learned my skills on site.
Right.
I learned them on site. So if I learned it on site, the site could be the market. You could give something. Not everybody picks up the educational things on an even keel.
Yeah.
We develop differently. And I think by bringing children into the market, you're creating a next lot of traders. Remember, a lot of traders don't stop because they stop. They stop because they grow old. They stop because they get tired. They stop because, but yet when I've spoke to traders who have retired and they do miss it badly because they tell me things I never thought about.
It's such a social job, isn't it? It's about learning about eye contact, chatting to
Mm.
people, how to make a
people skills,
sale.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
So
it's people skills.
naturally, students would benefit from being in a space like that, even if they're not necessarily practicing, but just hearing it, seeing it, being like, oh, that guy got his way by doing this,
but there's a-
this,
And
and that. Like,
that's why I said you watched Bidding Room yesterday, because there was a woman on there took two young students
mhm.
with two things to sell,
Yeah.
and she was explaining the money they raise from selling these.
Yeah.
They're going to have a stall in their local market,
There you go.
and they're going to
Answers it.
sell things that they have made on the course that they're on, because this is what the market's about.
I'll give you $5 after.
That's
Yeah.
wicked. Hopefully
Isn't it?
hopefully the people that are consultants are listening to this, because
I believe, but
it's
that
come up quite a few times. The future of the market, how we can imbibe young people to feel like they've got control over their destinies and their futures. Because I'm sure, back in your day, you had people who became millionaires from working as traders. Who's the guy? The Apprentice guy,
Sugar.
Alan Sugar.
Yeah.
He started a
just
Ridley
about to say
Road.
his name. God.
God, I didn't want to talk about the other orange
No.
man, but yeah,
But what does he do? He provides a sterile area, doesn't he? A
exactly.
safe sterile area. And then he says, go in there and try to do it. Tell me what you want to do, then go in. And he sees our teamwork. Now, if you took that ethos and you put it in the market,
Framework, yeah,
you create the next entrepreneurs for Newham.
definitely. And
And
why
you-
shouldn't Newham residents
Yeah.
Why
But
shouldn't
also,
they
see
going-
themselves
just-
as like that?
Going back on what Sam said about why can't children go to the market and actually have a stall and sell things and things like that. I mean, we do social enterprise in Year
Yeah.
6 for children, but why can't the borough, Newham Why
Yeah,
can't
support
they
you
create
in that,
links?
yeah.
Why can't they create those links for schools? And, you know, like get in touch with schools, because I'm sure schools will do things like that, but there's no point of contact at the moment. And I think that's quite important.
Yeah.
You know, we need to start developing a point of contact where people are getting in touch with schools in Newham. There are lots of schools in Newham. And, you know, I'm sure schools would not say no to the idea.
Of course
But,
not.
you know, I mean, I would definitely support that initiative, and I would be quite happy to do that because, you know, you're supporting the new generation, and I'm all for that. So I think that's quite important. But I think at the moment schools are struggling because they don't know who to contact in regards to this. I think they're struggling a little
And
bit.
the answer's there. Like, it's fun, it's functional, and people are lacking social skills, so it's going to up them as well.
We have everything
What-
in our
yeah.
area.
Yeah, we do.
Hopefully
have
they can
everything in Newham.
hear this and they
We
take
don't
this
need to go
idea.
out
but-
and do. Nobody has to leave Newham. Don't take your children out. We have everything here.
But it is that mentality of
Yeah, we just
feeling
have
like you need to have survived it or escape it or
Yeah.
that, rather than see all the best possibilities you can in it.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I was lucky enough to grow up thinking like that. But yeah, right. Let's get on to history now. Let's go all the way back. The market's 120 years old, which is insane to me. Like, I think it was named after Queen Victoria. I
Victoria.
obviously assumed it was Queen Liz,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. It was Queen Victoria, literally late 1800s. And it was a different world, like completely different.
But the thing is, that 120 years, we've gone through what? 2 world wars. We've
A lot's happened.
We've gone where our docks have been blown to pieces, where housing, the Dockland area, the Dockland line, because that's what they aimed to do, was to starve this country. So the Dockland itself was bombed all over the country. So when they bombed that, they didn't hit 9 out of 10. They never hit the target they wanted. So there's a lot of areas. I remember growing up here, there was areas that were still in that state of destruction. Now, markets come out of these sort of things because people used to sell what they had in their house.
Oh, so it was almost like a bartering, like,
Yeah.
what do you need? Let's do
People
this.
used to
way of-
sell,
yeah.
so the markets would pop up anyway. So you had all this devastation, and through that, you end up having communities that would help each other. Through necessity, through need, would help each other. So we've had all that destruction, all that calamity, all that, negative fruit running through these veins of this area. And it has fought back. I would assume like a lot of other areas that are on the Dockland. We've lost the docks. We lost the dock workers.
We've also lost all our market gardening as well,
Lost our market yard.
which was the food bank of the capital, where the M25 is now, going around London. That was our market gardens all
Okay.
around London.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was where things were grown.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't have to go very far into Essex or Enfield, places like that. That was where a lot of food would have been grown. That I'm talking about local produce.
That's incredible, because nowadays people are trying to become more self-sufficient and learn about homesteading, learn about living off grid, and it's such a trend. And it's weird that obviously that self-sustainability was almost eroded away at.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 100 years has seen a lot of change, like the rapid industrialization of just the world in general, but London, especially East London, like we've really felt it.
Yeah.
Like when I was doing research into the history of the market, apparently the smog was bad, so bad that apparently like really EastEnders could tell the time based on
Just
the aromas.
Yeah.
When everybody put their fires on.
Shifting
When everybody
around.
put their fires on. But it's true.
No, not put their fires on, when they made their coal fires.
Or they made different coal
Oh, so they
fires.
put their fires on like at the
No.
time.
Yeah, it was coal fires.
But you've got to remember, I mean, just on Wood Grange Road, we had our own coal depot there. I mean, the railways came in, a lot of people, which is called Priory Park now.
Yeah.
And that was a coal depot.
Yeah.
And the Turpins used to do it. I went to school with his son. So it's...
But
I
yeah,
know-
the area's changed a lot.
The
2
area's
world
changed.
wars. I just went to go see the movie The Blitz the other day, which covers like Stepney Green, what happened in
Major
East
devastation.
London.
Green.
Yeah, Bethnal Green as well.
But
and-
also, if you go into, I mean, we were talking earlier about the 2 boroughs,
yeah.
and when Hallsville School got hit, and people, I mean, from West Ham, actually, I mean, it was atrocious what happened. People didn't know where to go,
Yeah.
and were walking to like relatives who might live in Kent or Essex, walking to where their families were. But also, when they tried to cross the border into East Ham,
Yeah.
were treated very badly. They were treated like coming from outer space, really. It was like they were...
When
Right.
you think about it, the 1960, I mean, how long was this borough? Since 1965?
64, yeah,
No,
April Fool's Day.
Yeah, 1964, 65. The council's only been, I think, 5 years later, 6 years later, then we started having an elected mayor. The fact...
No, we didn't have an elected mayor till about 2000.
Was it 2000?
That's the... If
2000.
you're talking about the mayor as it
Yeah,
is now.
so
not
because
the
before we
other
just
mayor,
had
yeah.
community, like local mayors, you know.
Oh, okay.
But then so 2000, because you've done 5 terms in the Robin Wales. So, but yeah.
About 25 years. Isn't
Yeah.
it? Something like that.
But yeah, in the movie that I saw, The Blitz, which is obviously because it's Remembrance like month this month as well, I was like shocked. This is the first movie where you can kind of see how mixed East London was even then. Obviously, a lot less mixed than it is now, but you can kind of see those like cultures mingling with each other.
Mm.
And we talk about it all the time, like Jewish tailors, Indian spice merchants, West Indian traders as well. Just kind of all coalescing, working together, eating together.
Well, I'll tell
That's
you-
kind of what kind of becomes like the soul of East London.
Well, Dockland workers and people who live around the docks experience the first of the flavours that came from all over the world. Because when people came off the docks,
Yeah.
they had to rest somewhere for a little while for the ships to be unloaded and loaded back up. A lot of that stuff would, funny enough, disappear and end up in the markets, or and people, pineapples, people never, some fruits I'd never even seen before.
So the market was introducing new tastes to
Absolutely.
the country, literally. I can imagine all the like Caribbean yams, Eastern European vegetables, just
Stuff
yeah,
they
like an
never
array
had.
of stuff.
It'd be a luxury, or
Yeah.
it would be in a tin form.
And I think that like trying new things with different people, it does create a community, something that like it's a shame to see it's being chipped at now because when I think about Newham in general, I always think of like quite East End people who really back each other. So the idea that, which is no surprise why we all back the market, but the idea that they're trying to get rid of that in a sense, that camaraderie, that like community spirit, because it's not just the market that's 120 years old, it's that spirit
It's
like of working people.
It's a culture, it's a spiritual culture that sort of comes through time and it's kept going alive by generations.
Literally generations of
Yeah,
grafters.
they keeping it going. I mean, it's passed down,
Yeah.
right? Or it's passed down, or it's grabbed, it's taken, because they want some of that. I mean, you get people that got stall pitches all over the place, but they knew that the Queen's Market seems to always stands out from many. Now, how many markets we had in there? We had Rathbone Street. That stood its time until it got loose from our hands and went into private hands. We've had East Ham Market gone the same way. Just not enough support really to keep it going. Keep it there.
And markets also they bring about new ideas as well. Like we talk about the free marketplace of ideas, but like after the war and after the Blitz and the bombing, I think something that happened is women were in work for the first time, not the first time, but in a different way than they had been before, and respected in work. And the market traders, women market traders, apparently started becoming like local celebrities. Like I was reading about, was it Miss Wright, the fisherman's wife, and there are
Aggie
the Apple lady, just all these like iconic Titan women who become known for being loud, for being able to be good at sales.
This is East London. You have to be loud, and they are loud. They were not going to be constrained. The women that were on that market were not going to be constrained by anything.
I think the women were in the market way before all that. I think
that
was one of the first sort of before getting into shops and that. I think they were probably there.
You're right, actually. Like before even there was infrastructure, I'm sure there were saleswomen flogging stuff. Like
absolutely.
all over. I think it's just interesting that after the war, it was almost like they cemented their like, no, now that you guys are coming back,
Well,
like, we've been manning the fort, because during the
Manning the fort
during
is-
the war, like the market prevailed, like they still sold cheap food and groceries to people going through all kinds of stuff. And I think the haggling culture of understanding cost of living used to be individual. Like that person's going for a cost of living, that person's going, okay, I'm going to let them haggle with me. That kind of culture as well. We've kind of lost that a little bit. I don't know if you guys have any memories of it, because
I do you know what? Back then when I was young, I don't think the word cost of living never really came up, that term. But people just knew that you just didn't have that money. You couldn't stretch that out too far. Because, you know, there were larger families them days.
But also we didn't have that much luxury.
There
Like,
wasn't
you just,
much.
you
Yeah.
just
Dealt with it.
You got what you were given.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were content with
or,
that, weren't you?
or
Yeah.
entitlement.
Yeah.
Or entitlement. And I think there probably was a little bit of haggling went on in the market, but I think it was more that were most of the time it was the prices. And sometimes, you know, if you were buying a few things, there'd be a bit of a deal to be done.
Yeah.
And obviously things being sold off at the end of the day, you know, the time of day and that. I'm sure that was existing.
yeah, no, I'm sure the end
That
of
was
day
always-
bowls was
That
a
always
was a
has.
thing.
Yeah.
There was never a bowl them days, was there?
No.
So it was all done by pounds and ounces.
Yeah, you had your scales.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know it was the markets that sort of
And that's the beauty.
didn't when metric come
Yeah.
in.
But that
it
was the beauty
kick
of the
pounds,
market, wasn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, them lovely scales.
Yeah.
With all the little brass.
And there was a certain pride in it as well, that even though
And the
even
children
though
don't see
people
that now, that's-
don't have money necessarily and luxury,
Yeah.
there was a certain like people in their flat hats, shawls and Sunday shoes coming out. People want to see what you're wearing. There was a certain dignity of working class
Definitely.
culture, so much so that then Green Street became kind of like, oh, if you want to know what it's like, know what the East End is like, try jellied pie and mash,
Yeah.
they would come to Upton Park.
They would.
Yeah.
They would. It was a massive,
Yeah.
you know, East London food.
Yeah,
Like
like
for East London food.
exactly. Yeah.
Massively.
And it's a shame that I think young people that grow up in Newham today deserve to be just as proud.
I think they should have I reckon they should be all given a free bowl of jellied eels. To
Oh my god. They can have mine.
They'd feel like they're on I'm a Celebrity or something. I know I
Probably
would.
take one look at it.
I'm not a fan of eels, but I
Yeah.
do miss all the pie and mash shops that used to be around here that kind of disappeared more and more as time's gone on.
They have. I mean, I wouldn't say that's a cultural change, but I think that's more of a commercial. Because when West Ham Football Ground was
Yeah.
flourishing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you had
Yeah.
Nathan's. I mean, they were busy as heck.
Yeah.
You couldn't even get in there.
Yeah.
So,
Even in East Ham, yeah. I
you know,
remember.
and driving, I mean, really, the football ground was another hub, really. It provided Queen's Market with a lot of living.
Yeah.
That's what I
You
talked
know?
about last time, wasn't it? Because the footballers used to come on the train.
Right.
So they used to go in the market.
West Ham football
The West Ham football players.
players, yeah.
Bobby Moore.
What humility.
Yeah.
No,
No,
they probably lost a lot of trade then, didn't they? When like
yeah, they used to go in
When
there.
West Ham
Yeah, but they-
football
but in
ground,
those
yeah.
days,
Yeah.
the footballers would mix with the local people.
Right.
You know.
And also where West Ham, you know, still have in the early days a lot of black football players.
Mhm.
They used to go in there.
Mhm.
They used to buy a lot of local produce, you know, from them. So it's at heart of, I mean, if I was to take Queen's Market to West Ham Football Ground
Yeah.
and I beat my drum over there, I think that they would warm up to the sounds what I throw out there about the market. There was a link, whether it was over 2 minutes of madness
Mhm.
where traders had to gather around to protect their territory, so to speak, right? Or it was just the atmosphere that was going, you know, from the football ground. It created a link with, you know, the Queen's Market with the Green Street, with the football ground.
Yeah, I think the
There's an
market,
anchoring
the
point.
football,
Yeah,
and the
it's
high
all-
street were all kind of a weird
Yeah.
triangulated
Yeah.
ecosystem.
I mean, a lot of people come and use the restaurants as well, you know.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it's a vibrant area.
Because that's not where the
Still
market
is.
started off,
No.
really. The market started off on the street,
Yeah.
going all the way along Green Street. And it was only the coming of the trams and that they had to move the stalls into that space to make it safer for people to.
What was it called? Was it called
Right.
Gypsy Lane?
There was Gypsy Lane. That was the other side of Plashet.
Mm.
That part,
Mhm.
and then the West Ham football ground end, or Queen's Market end. That was Green Street. Yeah, it was called Gypsy Lane because there was a Plashet Hall, and we used to have a lot of seasonal workers used to come over from Ireland to do the fruit picking and the potato
wow.
picking. And actually, up that end as well, one of the roads is where a lot of the costermongers, the people who sold the apples, and
Yeah.
that lived. I can't remember if it was Henderson Road, one of those roads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's seen everything. It's genuinely seen the difference between
Yeah.
horse and carriage to automobile, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's gonna
Yeah.
carry on and hopefully see even more. Right, we have to go on a break, but when we get back, we're going to get into the 70s and 80s and talk about the future of the market too.
That's a crazy time. 70s.
Okay, see you guys in a few minutes.
Thinking about selling or letting your home? With Maxwell Estates, you don't need to look any further. Well established with over 15 years of experience, Maxwell Estates are specialists in residential sales and lettings. We manage over 200 properties in and around Northwest London, keeping our landlords and tenants updated with all the latest laws and legislations. Based in Edgware, our experienced specialist negotiators always ensure we maximize the full potential of your property. Call us now on 0208 952 0808 for a free no obligation quotation, or visit our website www.maxwellestates.co.uk for further information. Maxwell Estates, the name you can trust.
अस्सलामुअलैकुम। सर्दियों में फ्लू और कोविड-19 ज्यादा आसानी से फैलते हैं और आपको सख्त बीमारी का शिकार बना सकते हैं, मगर फ्लू और कोविड-19 की वैक्सीन बहुत बड़ा फर्क ला सकती हैं। ये आपको महफूज रखती है और बीमारी से बचने में बेहतर तरीके से मदद करती हैं। इसलिए अगर इन सर्दियों में आपको ये वायरसेस लगते भी हैं, तो आपको हल्के सिम्टम्स होंगे और आप जल्द सेहतयाब हो जाएंगे और आपके हॉस्पिटल में दाखिल होने के चांसेस भी कम हो जाएंगे। अगर आप प्रेग्नेंट हैं या आपको कोई लंबी बीमारी है जैसे कि सांस की बीमारी या फिर लंग्स, किडनी, लिवर या कोई दूसरी बीमारी, या फिर आपका बच्चा 2 या 3 साल का है, तो आप अपनी एलिजिबिलिटी चेक करें और अपनी वैक्सीन nhs.uk/winter vaccination पर ऑनलाइन बुक करें। वैक्सीन हासिल कीजिए और अपने आप को मजबूत कीजिए। शुक्रिया।
तकरीबन 60 मिलियन प्राइमरी स्कूल जाने वाले बच्चे इस वक्त स्कूल में दाखिल नहीं हैं। मयारी तालीम की फराहमी से पसमानदा बच्चों को गुर्बत के मुसलसल चक्कर से बचने का मुसावी मौका मिल सकता है। इस रमजान आइए आपके ताउन से इस बात को यकीनी बनाएं कि हर बच्चे को मयारी तालीम हासिल करने का मौका मिलेगा। मिनहाज वेलफेयर फाउंडेशन के जरिए बच्चे की तालीम को स्पॉन्सर करें। बस हमारे मकामी दफ्तर 12 कार रोड, नेल्सन, BB9 7JS पर तशरीफ लाएं। हमें 01282 723 455 पर कॉल करें या हमारी वेबसाइट www.minhajwelfare.org पर देखें। ताज़ा तरीन वीडियोस और अपडेट्स के लिए फेसबुक, इंस्टाग्राम और ट्विटर पर जुड़े रहें।
Nikah, talaq, counseling on matrimonial disputes, Islamic wills, Islamic law of inheritance, or an Islamic verdict on any other issue. The Muslim Sharia Council is at your service. We provide official certification and our experienced and highly qualified imams are available to provide you with guidance when needed. MQI London is based at 292 to 296 Romford Road, Forest Gate. We are open from Monday to Friday 2 to 4 p.m. or alternatively call us now on 0208 257 1786.
Minhaj Sisters UK are proud to host their biannual retreat Al Tazkiyah 2024 from the 15th of November to the 17th of November. This year, the retreat will take place in Yarnfield Training and Conference Centre at Stoke-on-Trent. We are pleased to announce that we will be joined by Dr. Ghazala Hassan Qadri, President of Minhaj Women League UK, who will be our special guest for 3 days. Join us for an inspirational and fun-packed weekend. To find out more, please visit our website
अस्सलामुअलैकुम।
www.altazkiyah.com.
सर्दियों में फ्लू और कोविड-19 ज्यादा आसानी से फैलते हैं और आपको सख्त बीमारी का शिकार बना सकते हैं, मगर फ्लू और कोविड-19 की वैक्सीन बहुत बड़ा फर्क ला सकती हैं। ये आपको महफूज रखती हैं और बीमारी से बचने में बेहतर तरीके से मदद करती हैं। इसलिए अगर इन सर्दियों में आपको ये वायरसेस लगते भी हैं, तो आपको हल्के सिम्टम्स होंगे और आप जल्द सेहतयाब हो जाएंगे।
Revive FM
94.0 on the radio
on your mobile
and online.
Okay, welcome back to Revive Radio on 94.0 FM. Okay, so we've swapped out Shakila for our regular. Stan, how are you today?
I'm all right.
Okay, so we're talking about history. We've covered like the early 1900s, the rapid industrialization of London. We've touched on Irish dock workers, Indian spice merchants, Jewish tailors, and Caribbean record shops. Now on to the 70s, the grooving 70s.
Well, that is the Caribbean record shops.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so that doesn't surprise me. Music, vibes, as an
In
era.
Birmingham,
Do
it
you
was
guys
really
remember?
hard to get, reggae, like you go to the white record shop and say, oh, I want this record by, I don't know, say it was Lee Perry or King Tubby or someone like that. Oh, we can't get that, they're Jamaican. And you'd go, well, what do I have to do? Oh, we do import, but that costs X amount and you have to put a deposit down. So you'd have to put a couple of pounds down, come back next week or whenever they send it in a brown paper bag, you'd get your Dillinger, your Tapazuki, or whatever, and we'd be over the moon, but it was more expensive than like the top 40 singles, 7 inches.
What do you guys remember about that era of Queen's Market? Because it's the era where it was first threatened for the first time, and they fought back and won.
Yeah, they covered it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit of a.
Well, they thought that by covering it, because that roof was never meant to be that lattice design.
Right.
It was meant to be a much more of an open, bit like a football sort of.
Yeah,
So it
I've
comes
seen
in
some of the
and it's
pictures.
supposed to
Yeah.
be
Because it looked
much
like
more-
a temporary roof. You can look up, it just looked like scaffoldings holding everything up.
It is a
And
strange
like,
view.
And that is what it was going to happen. And it was sold on that basis.
Right.
But I thought that roof was meant to be a glass roof.
It was.
So the sun, daylight could.
Now that's a good idea.
Because what they said, it was a cost. They based it all on cost.
All right.
But the thing is, they had the technology then to provide a lightweight glass. They had the technology, but it had a cost factor to it. So they just settled for what that's there, which is a massive pigeon's nest. You know,
It was probably the
Yeah,
beginning
it
of
wasn't-
settling
it
as
wasn't
well
a
for
pigeon's
bad
nest
quality.
then. It wasn't a pigeon's nest then. That's because the people were feeding the pigeons.
Well, the thing is,
That's
they,
how-
Ah,
that's how
yeah,
they got
Trafalgar
in.
Square was still a thing, right?
well, the thing is, they're up there now.
Fergie.
You know,
Yeah,
and,
once they're in, they're in.
Rats with wings.
and the thing is, you know, they're up there, and you've got traders below. And
Bring back the Hawks, that's what I say.
Right, but yeah, I mean that's the problem with that sort of roof design. It doesn't allow, and it doesn't. What it is, they never took consideration of things like pigeons. They never took consideration of that.
You know
design.
what? It feels like to me that even then they thought that market was going to be demolished.
No, I think
No,
I think what it was, Stan, was you by the 70s you were beginning to compete with supermarkets.
Yeah, definitely.
And I
Shopping
think-
habits had changed,
And
didn't
I
they?
think they realised.
Yeah.
They realised that people, come rain or shine,
Yeah.
all right when it was sunny, but
Yeah.
when the weather wasn't so good,
Mm.
people would opt more for going into supermarkets.
Which was a lot of the time the weather wasn't.
And yeah,
It
and I
is
think they were
Britain.
thinking- I think they were also thinking along the lines for the workers, as
Right,
well.
yeah.
So I think maybe they were in a way trying to save the market a little bit by
Mhm.
doing something, but unfortunately, maybe they didn't have anything good to compare it to. That it came out in the way that it did.
Well,
Yeah.
we also have a look is that the big company, the big
Conglomerates
like
and
the Tesco
stuff.
conglomerates,
Yeah.
they're given tax exemptions by free car parks.
Yeah, supermarkets don't have the
Yeah.
same superheroes
They
that
don't.
Queen's Markets has in the way that people really look out for each other,
what I
traders
mean.
and customers. Obviously, you're supporting their business and they're supporting you.
But the thing is, people don't get it that Tesco, the likes of Tesco and Sainsbury's, are not meant to be there for the time period that their buildings
Yeah.
are not designed for that. They designed it around the 25 year. And, you know, these portal design only 25 years and then dismantle it. The reason is they buy these places and the car park as like a land bank.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They're land banks. They're never meant to be a long-term retail park, like, you know, food-wise. Even retail parks are only 25 years. They push it to 30 depending on the economic climate. Apart from that, they will just take them down and they reduce and they build high-rise buildings. That is what's happening now. That's the reality of it. The market is a totally different, you know, point. It's a totally different animal. It has historical context. It has what I call sustainability. It can maintain that sustainability.
Well, it's been on Queen's Road 120 years, is it?
120
And
years.
before that, it was on Green Street.
Compare that to a 25-year, you know, Tesco's or any other stores. It has sustainability and it can survive and it can improve and it can develop even further. It's just been managed into a decline.
Yeah, we're lucky that it's lasted so long. And I always say this, that we're lucky that the Victorians built things to last, because the way we're building them is shocking, horrific, scary to me sometimes when I think about it.
What Sam's saying, it's because they're not built to last long, because it's like, well, we'll use that for something else
Soon.
afterwards.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the market space isn't a building. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not a building. It's a culture.
Mm.
It's an ideology. It's a culture. You can't.
Public space.
It's a public, and you can't put a time on that. It can go on for infinity. It can keep going.
Hopefully.
As long as it desires that, you could take all the walls around that
Because
market away.
the market's always changing and providing what people actually want.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like Sharon, like what you were saying, you preferred it open aired.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's my experience when it was
Well,
open air.
I mean, looking back on it, it does need to be covered in some way.
Yeah.
But if you look at some markets now, they have a bit like you've got at Stratford bus station, that sort of that white tent.
Yeah, no, I know what you
canopy
mean.
thing. So it's, if you had something big like that, that does let in some light.
Yeah.
But it still keeps heavy rain off.
Built with a
people.
little bit more breathing room.
Yeah.
Now back to the 70s and 80s, because when I look at that time, it feels like a really politically tumultuous time. It feels like it's giving nowadays.
Yeah, it's
So,
a very similar situation.
what was
The country was angry.
Yeah, you was in a similar situation to what you're in now.
Really?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the general strike was in 1970s.
No,
Was
no,
it?
no, not general strike. You're talking about when we had like
Thatcherism.
Thatcherism.
Yeah, I think
Thatcher came in
just for the
79.
mid 70s as the late 80s got done, that whole era basically, it felt like local people were speaking up for what they believed in, and they felt like they were getting fleeced. Do you remember any memories about that? Like,
I remember the same Thatcher came in 79, but the Tories were in long before that.
They were long before that.
Because I remember the coal strikes of 72, 73.
Oh, that was Heath, wasn't it? Ted
Yeah,
Heath.
exactly.
Ted Heath,
So
yeah.
that was an awful time because we had power cuts. Blackout, yeah. And you're talking about the fogs.
wow.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Things like
crazy
that,
to be storing my
because-
candles.
Yeah, because we
You
had
didn't
to-
need a fog to have a blackout.
Yeah, and we had to import a lot of coal.
Okay.
I mean, like people were trying to support the miners.
Yeah.
But it was very difficult.
Mm.
I mean, the film Pride got that. That's great about the gay workers supporting the miners.
Gay and lesbian people
Yeah.
supporting the miners.
But we had all these blackouts and that, and I can remember we used to have a fire because we'd had coal fires,
right?
But then, because my mum was working,
Yeah.
we got those fires that you could. It had it was like a built-in coal fire, and so it kept going all week.
Oh, okay.
Basically, you didn't have to make the fire every day, and so we had this. Yeah,
You never had one of those.
Yeah. Well, you had to empty the
Oh, right,
cinders
yeah,
out,
yeah.
but it,
The
you could
grates.
keep it going, and it
Yeah.
kept the house a bit warmer.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it blew up one night because
Oh
there
my
was
God.
a detonator in it. So
Right.
fortunately, we were in bed, but otherwise, you know, we'd been sitting in front of it.
So literally like coal burning, blackouts, a bit
Yeah.
of political instability as well. Do you have any memories of that time, that space, just Green Street, the area, the market?
Well, it was just dark.
Dark, yeah.
It was just
Dark.
Two black candles.
Dark times.
And that's the market at times was like that. It
And
had
as
candles,
kids, we
had
wouldn't be allowed in.
lights, wicker lights.
Really?
Yeah, because if you went into a shop, they wouldn't let teenagers in because they'd think you were
Yes.
pilfering.
All
So
right, fair
yes,
enough.
we weren't allowed.
God forbid.
Yeah, God forbid. Yeah, we weren't allowed.
But
in.
yeah, we had blackouts. Listen, and you would have thought, well, as they claim, the sixth richest country in the world,
Mhm.
and we had blackouts. I mean, there was no need for any of that. That was the government just going for the miners.
Oh God, no need for it then. No need for it now.
There was
No, it went
need.
on for years.
It went on for years.
Years of like blackout
and
issues.
because, and you know, you were talking about smog.
Yeah.
The reason there's smog is it's the type of coal that you're burning.
It was,
Right.
yeah.
So the coal that was imported
Yeah.
would create that more. So I can
Cheap
remember
coal.
leaving because I went to school. I used to have to walk up onto Green Street to go home to get the bus to go home, and I remember a couple of smogs. I mean, obviously they weren't as bad as what you had in the 50s, but we don't have anything like what we had then.
And I'm guessing cheap coal would obviously go to the people who could afford it because that's the coal that you get for. And then East Londoners, cheap coal, I'm guessing that would affect health.
No, it wasn't. It's because the miners were on strike. We didn't have any coal,
Oh,
so they had to import coal from Poland
Right.
and places like that. And so we just had to have the coal that was available.
All right, so that was just like blanket wide. Everyone was
Yeah.
importing
we-
coal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember a lot of back then, I think into the 70s, people didn't have central heating.
No, we didn't have central
Central heating was a luxury.
Yeah.
So having radiator.
I don't know why I'm about to laugh because it's not funny.
People take it for having radiators.
We
in
take
the
it for
house
granted,
was
yeah.
Luxury.
So we
Yeah.
had coal fires. We had to empty it out, regular,
Every
Yeah.
to put heat in there.
But I feel like you guys would have had better skills. I feel like
but in Newham in the 70s, a lot of people didn't have bathrooms.
Didn't have
You
bathrooms.
went to the
like an outhouse kind of thing.
yeah, or no, you went
No,
to
no,
the swimming
swimming
pool.
baths.
Swim
Ah,
baths.
okay.
Baths. You went there. I don't mean you went in the swimming pool.
Yeah, no, of
They
course.
actually had baths. yeah,
Actually, had
yeah,
baths.
had
Yeah.
baths. So you went to the swimming pool for the bath.
Yeah, facilities were completely different to how they are now.
But the thing is, I don't know why they went the direction they went, because gas was becoming available. All that was dirty gas. It was becoming available.
It's at the end of the Cold
the
War.
front.
We
I'm
had our
guessing,
own gas
right?
in the North Sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that sort of come later on, but back then we just, we was using town gas, right, which has come from coal.
Coal.
Which is actually it's not a good gas. And then you started having boilers come in and play. You had, you started develop, and the requirement for coal was really just for commercial side, right? So there would have been a natural decline anyway, but the government just wanted to put it on steroids and get rid of it.
Would you say there was like an upheaval though, like during that time, that actually the way people lived improved over the 15 years of that
Well,
time?
you've also got to remember at that time, it's when we went into what was then known as the common
Common
market.
market.
That was another big upheaval.
Right, so we were
Because-
testing out our
and
neoliberalism
If you want
for
to
the
make a
first time
connection to the
properly.
market there, what happened when we had decimalisation as well?
Right,
And what happened when we went decimal?
yeah.
Things that would have cost 4 shillings.
Mhm.
They thought people were stupid. Things that cost 4 shillings, which is 20 pence,
Yeah.
suddenly became 40 pence because they thought people would think, 4 shillings, 40, 4.
Why do they always think we're stupid?
Yeah. So everything went up
What can you say?
in
In price.
Yeah. And then we went into the common market. That would have been about 75. I
Yeah,
think,
around
something
that
like
time.
So that was another big. If like Brexit has been a big.
Yeah, so we
upheaval.
were
Well, just turn the tables. exactly the same sort of thing then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we went through,
What they call
about,
it?
I would say about 5-6 years
What it-
of upheaval.
Winter of discontent.
Well, I
That
think
phrase
that-
came out in the
Discontent.
70s.
No, I think that came out in the war, didn't it?
No, that was the 70s.
This is the winter of, no, that's Shakespeare, it's the winter.
The winter, no, that's came
But
out.
that's
when-
to be
Richard
fair,
Yeah, it is from Shakespeare.
yeah, I want to say I've
Yeah.
heard of that before, but
And he probably nicked it off someone else.
Yes, yeah.
Probably nicked it
Come
off
on.
the Greeks or the Egyptians.
we could have just rolled
The
with it,
Years'
you know.
War.
Yeah, yeah.
Just took the light off of that. But that's what it came out. It was the winter of discontent. You know, the
Well,
press.
I'm sure there's
Because-
someone who's listening that
because
know that.
because it was you know, when you had the coal strikes on, you
Start
had that
talking
on.
about Elizabeth I next.
I'm working on that one.
well, we are on to her reign technically.
We are.
What else? Like when I also think of the 80s, I think of punks and I think of
punk was big. That was
counterculture.
like 70s, wasn't it? Late 70s, early 80s?
Yeah, and as we get into the 90s, at this point, Green Street is iconic. Like
Yeah.
people know about it, people understand the cultures associated with it.
Mhm.
As we touch on to, as we like approach the millennium as well, it's starting to pop up in Bollywood movies. That's how much like because I'm sure in that era, it's when it became like more predominantly South Asian. So the fact that it's popping up like in Bollywood movies halfway across the world is just so funny to me that
Well,
historically it's cemented like in film, in culture. Because when did
Saw
the Green
those shops that
Street,
sell wedding clothes
the Green Street and
jewellery.
football movie as well came out
Yes.
in the 90s.
Yeah.
I think it was
About-
late
Yeah,
90s,
but I
early
think- I
noughties
think
as well.
The thing is, it's like most cities in Britain have got, like you've got the Curry Mile in Manchester and that. So I think,
And in Birmingham, there's the Balti Triangle.
there you go. So Green Street became
Yeah.
the place.
Yeah.
And in Southall as well. I think
Yes.
Southall
Southall,
tried to rival it a bit.
Yeah.
And when you go onto Asian radio stations,
Yeah.
Places in Green Street are often being advertised or, you know, whatever. So I think they became sort of.
Were you ever worried about the market in the 90s? Like, did you ever think they could get
I'll
rid of
tell you-
this place? Because it feels like that was the peak where it was everyone knew how important it was and iconic, and it was humming and drumming,
I
making
think
money.
It's always been popular, and I think it was only then
Hmm.
that the council had their eye on
well,
building an Asda or something.
Yeah, that was the first one. I think when we won the
Yeah.
Olympics as well, it was the real turning point in East London, just generally.
You've got to take
But-
the point that I've gone through the history, and half sitting in the background there. She can most probably, you know, say yeah or no on this. But I've gone through Green Street,
Hmm.
and I've gone through where we had a cinema there, we had other stores there, you know, well-known stores that closed up. I've gone there and seen like a ghost town where newspapers rolling in the street, and you think it's a ghost town, you know, it's not real. And
Song by the Specials.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
I know.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head there.
Ghost
Like you said, we had a
Town.
cinema there, we had restaurants, whereas now we're
Thank
dealing
you.
with mainly the
Well,
bones
it was-
of the place.
Yeah, but the thing
Like,
is, it was the Green Street was dying. It was
Mhm.
dying, you know, as we saw it. And I attended council meeting. There was pumping in some investment in their side because
Mhm.
there is a family business there that actually sort of got involved heavily with the mayor at the time to start saying, you know, you've got to do something about it, and they did do it. But to be honest with you, businesses were leaving. And they just couldn't. And I'm not sure why. I don't know what. Maybe it's a change of culture. Maybe they didn't adapt quick enough. And it's like anybody. If you've got a business, you've got to learn to adapt to what's coming in.
yeah.
Nothing stays the same. But if you've got the space, you could adapt it. You know, you could adapt it to culture. You could adapt it to food. You could adapt it to the clothing. You could adapt it. The air, you could adapt it to the sounds of the music or whatever that comes out of these shops. But they never adapted, and it died on its feet. The market was consistent through all this.
Mm.
It maintained its integrity, even though it was under threat.
I think what the problem was Green Street went through what a lot of other areas around here go through, and that is where you've got, say, 10 shops selling the same thing, and someone else comes along and wants to sell the same thing as well. And it's like,
true,
come
yeah.
on, you've got to think of something new.
Yeah.
You can't have a whole street selling saris, for instance. You've got to, you know, think of
be innovative in ideas. Me and my
Yeah.
partner are actually discussing this when we look at the high street, because you know the high street's happening up and down the country as
Yeah.
well, and it's like you can kind of look like barbers, this, that. There's like the
Yeah, we've got
5
20 barbers
template
now. Yeah.
shops, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against the barbers. It's just you can kind of see the
But
archetypal.
But my viewpoint is before the sari shops took on,
Mhm.
before the Indian businesses came in,
Mhm.
and I saw the
What do you
decline.
remember about
And that's
those?
what I remember. Majority of them were like English, sort of like, but that changed, and it was slowly closing up in front of me.
I guess a lot of people moved out in the 90s. Like
They moved
I
out.
when I grew up, I remember a lot of people moving out to Essex and
Yeah.
just further east in the 90s. But it was also a good time. I felt like there was a lot more like just cultural inoculation. Like there was a lot more learning from each other and actually being a bit more integrated with each other in a way that now feels like everyone's going a bit more in their own worlds. Not on purpose, not because they want to, but just like
People moved in. Businesses are
We've
there.
missed, I was only saying this to Sant the other day, we've missed the golden age.
Yeah.
The point where it sort of reached a point and you thought, this is how I want the area to be. This is it. And then it all started going backwards. Yeah,
I mean,
and
if we look at history itself, I mean, a lot of these markets started off as little fairs, as little village markets. And when Newham started to join together, we had stronger markets in certain places.
Definitely.
But they started from smaller one. They built up and built up and built up. So they've gone through the wars, they've gone through depressions.
And I guess
gone
that
through
brings
strikes.
people together. All those moments was pushing us towards each other,
And
towards
that's
each
true.
other. Yeah.
So it all created, and I think what's happened is that space was created, space was protected, space provided what it needed to provide.
Yeah.
Now we've moved away from that to what it is now, and the last surviving one is Queen's Market.
How do we keep
had
it
one-
going though?
we
Because
had
like
one-
you said, Queen's Market still has all that ethos in place.
It does.
But how do we keep it alive?
it seems to, I mean, to me, as an outsider, the market seems to be very well used. I mean, I only said in the last program, I know when it's market day when I'm on the buses because the buses are packed. So the market is still providing a service to an awful lot of people. And I feel that it's only the powers that be
But that market,
that are.
but that market itself, as it is
I
now,
have to agree
if
that.
the lighting was sorted, if the roof was done, if the flooring was, it'll be used. That's all. The market, what the market needs, it needs the right thinking, the right philosophy behind it.
TLC.
Right, so now we get on to 2010s, 2012, the Olympics, we win. Everyone in Newham's cheering. I remember being in school. I remember teachers turning to me, be like, do you know how much this is going to improve your area?
Oh, lovely.
Now I can't afford to live here. So
Didn't tell you
how do you guys see in this era that we're in now, from kind of 2012 to now? Like, do you think that the Olympic bid improved the area? Like,
No.
because I say no, but I'm selfish.
Big lie
To me,
for ordinary people.
To me, it seemed that we spent about 5 years in the ordinary person on the street spent 5 years of mayhem getting everything sorted. All right, you're not going to magic everything up,
of course,
overnight. So we went through all this, and I thought, oh, this is such a waste of time. But actually, when I saw what happened, and that, I thought, yeah, this has been a really good thing. But since then, it's almost like, well, yeah, you've put up with all that.
Yeah.
You continue to put up with it. I really feel like the people of Newham are treated like not second class, but third class citizens all the time.
Oh, I agree.
Well,
Yeah.
when
And I'm not talking just about in the market.
Well,
I'm
one of the
talking about
biggest
anywhere.
one of the biggest
Yeah.
things that Newham people, residents were promised was council housing.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That all those flats that they built in
Yeah.
Stratford
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
athletes
Yeah.
will be turned into council housing.
And they
Or social
renegated on the
housing,
percentage that they gave
Well,
away
they've
in the
renegated on
end, as well as
everything.
anyone who did get in, they tripled the rent on them as anyway. So it was a double
Never
fleecing,
happened.
whichever
and also,
side
the
you're
people
on.
who did pay mega bucks for places over there
Yeah.
moved into what was, I mean, I don't really like high rises anyway, but it was quite spacious. And then suddenly there's like another 10, it was a building site for another 10 years.
Yeah,
And
that's
still
right.
is,
Still
and
is.
still
It
is.
still is.
Oh,
Yeah, it's still
sorry,
building.
I've got cramp. It
It's
still
alright.
is. They're still
Need to
building-
stand up.
No,
Yeah.
and they're still building. You
Yeah.
know. And
It's still
like
going on.
everybody has been let down. It's like everybody's being lied to all the time.
The Olympics was one big feast, but not for the right people. We weren't even given the scraps.
We got the Ludwig Gutmann Centre out of it. That was a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my local GP as well.
Well, that should be a lot bigger, you know. But the thing is, we got scraps out of it. I don't think we got anything out of it. What they did, they used
They
that.
sold us a dream a little bit,
Yeah.
didn't they?
They sold a dream, and it was I mean, that's not what Ken Livingstone set out.
No.
He didn't set it out that way. It's just that he set it out that way and used the Olympics as a means that the Conservatives would grab it and then run with it and call it their own, which is what happened. It was an area that needed investment, absolutely.
It was a
an-
land grabbing
it-
exercise.
It was a land grabbing. And the thing is, they could have developed it, you know, we could have developed it locally. And it
Yeah,
could be
they
done.
could have.
What's happened is that they knew that that could make money. Because of the Olympics, it would have drawn money from other places. As a result, they've created another borough out of it, really.
Yeah.
So you've got a culture that's overpowering a culture. That's like an occupation.
E20 and the people who live there call it the village.
Yeah.
Everyone else in Stratford, but to
Yeah.
them it's
Yeah.
E20, the village.
And how inviting that is, village.
That is
What-
such
so
a
what
good
is-
point to make. That
so
like
they're
you're
a village,
calling, because my mum lives in East Village,
Yeah.
and ironically, the one thing I always say, the first thing I usually say when I talk about it is, sometimes it can feel a bit cold and sterile in the way we talk and treat each other. So ironically, we call ourselves village, but I promise you,
But I
that's
mean,
not
it's
how we're
not a
treating
village,
each
is it?
other.
It's not a
No.
village anyway. And I mean, it's like in Poplar, you've got Aberfeldy Village now, and it's and how can you call a dozen blocks of flats a village?
But ironically, if they would have housed some more actual Newham residents in those social housing, guess what? It would have been a village, just because
would have
that's
been a
how we
village.
are as
Yeah.
a people.
Yeah,
Like,
but it isn't a village.
No.
Geographically, you can't call it a village.
No.
I'm
And the
sorry.
crazy thing is, some of those buildings, we found that some of those floors are empty. So we've just got investors that are occupying
Yeah.
land that is empty. And we're worried about housing crisis. We don't have a crisis. What we have is we don't have the will to be able to exercise our right to occupy empty space and turn it into a livable space that can house families. They do not have to live in sheltered accommodation, right, or temporary accommodation, because that's what's bankrupting our boroughs everywhere. It's temporary.
yeah, it's a really big
Why
issue.
are we making landlords rich, turning them into millionaires overnight when we should be using that money locally in our local purse? And that's what I can't seem to get through.
I absolutely agree with you. But if we get onto the subject of landlords, I will be here all day.
So we're gonna bring it back to market.
But just to close up, right? So we've talked about the past of the market. What about its future? What do you want to see in Newham and in the market more broadly?
Personally, I want to see a much brighter, much more accessible market. I want it access whereby it's brightly lit.
Yeah.
I want the floor so that it's for disabled
Even.
people, even.
And when it rains, there's not puddles of water.
You're
everywhere.
not asking for much.
No, no.
Exactly. Just a
Yeah.
basic what a landlord should
Got
do.
some basic car parking
You know, it's,
and a lift.
Sharon,
it's
what
just
about
so-
you? What would you like to
so
see?
Well, first of all, I would like the council to recognise the importance of markets and not lip service. You
Yeah.
know, they are important, and I think we need more in the borough, not less.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need to say, we'll look at how, we said this on the last programme, about how Dagenham Market proved so popular, you know, and also Ilford have just built a big indoor market.
Yeah.
You know, so learn from that. We need something, maybe make it a bit lighter and brighter to add to what they're saying, but have some respect for these things. Listen to the people, because you've only got to look at Queen's Road Market to see that there is a viable economy going on there, that it serves a community.
Yeah.
And even if you don't think, even if you think, oh look, we can get rid of that and they can go in the shops or whatever. I think another thing that we missed out on saying is, we were saying about how, you know, you talk to people in the market. It's a network. You know that African proverb about
Absolutely.
it takes a child, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
And that it's the same with when new people come to an area. It's with interaction with local people in a friendly way that you get to know what's going on in that area. And
You
that's
learn,
what we
you
need
grow.
all the time.
Your
to
network
help
is your net
people.
worth.
You know, all this compartmentalising people off all the time. It doesn't work. It's not good.
We're not happier for it either.
No.
Like,
And I don't see why the council can't build on this, because that is free advice. That's taking a load off them.
well, you heard it here. Please take it. Stan, what about you?
Well, I mean, I got to come back to the pigeons because they're real news.
Yeah, but while you've got
good,
people
functional.
feeding them, and we said on the last programme about a pigeon comes back to where it was born. So
Yeah, they're nesting in the roof, aren't
Kind
they?
of sweet.
They're nesting in the roof, but you know, health-wise, it's no
it's not
good.
no, you've got to get rid
That
of them.
pigeon waste coming down on your head and coming down on fruit and veg and all
But
the
we
rest of
actually
it.
domesticated pigeons, and we've done this to them.
Yeah, we've
Just
done-
gonna
yeah.
add that.
We
on
can't-
it.
can't we
Not
eat
so
them?
fun fact.
But the other thing we could also do is that blasted tannoy they're having now. It should, you know, in the market, they should make that much more inviting. Say, welcome to Queen's Market. Enjoy the market.
Like, what does it do?
It just tells you about.
Pickpockets,
It's not very easy to
robbers.
find.
Yeah.
So we want updates,
We
we
want-
want functional
we want
improvements, and
function.
we want respect to the actual
Everything,
history
yeah,
of
yeah.
like our legacy as people.
Legacy's people. And remember, it's not just the stalls. We have shops in there.
No,
Yeah.
It's
not
like
just
a
the
community.
stories. It's the stories.
It's like symbiotic communities in there. Everybody needs everybody for that to function. And that's the important. And the shops on the other side of the road, and the shops on the left, and the shops on the right, on the Green Street. And we need to do this. I mean, they put it in there. And, hey, you know, we thought it'd be a success with the roof goes on, but they messed that up as well. So that's what we're hoping. We're hoping, and we're going to fight for a market that, you know, can prove, you know, that will survive.
We want the council to listen to people, to listen to traders. Forget about paying £500,000 to consultants who don't know what they're talking about, telling us what we need and what's good for us.
Sharon, any last
I was
point?
just going to say, when I was reading up
Yeah.
on the market last night, I did find, I'm sure it must have been was it Leeds, someone from Leeds who did the consultation?
Leeds University did an excellent report
Yes,
on the market.
I
yeah.
read that and I thought that was a really
Yeah.
positive report.
It
Oh,
was.
that's
And-
good. So
and
if any
if-
listeners out there, check out the Leeds report on the market.
Yeah.
Leeds
It was something- was it
University.
Markets for markets or something.
But
And also
But they
go
did
on
their
Friends
own.
of Queen's Market
Yeah.
if you want to find out more information about how you can support your local market. Join in the fight with us and go there, shop there, support your local trader. Right, I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about next week, but hopefully we're going to catch you again soon. Thank you so much, Sharon, Stan, for chatting with me today.
Thank you.
Get involved. We need everybody to be involved.
Get involved. Okay. Bye, guys.